Hey guys, Ms. Pariseau here. We're taking a look at page 10, word problems. Let's dive right in. So I'm going to go through the method about how to approach these word problems and to kind of the steps about how to correctly show your work and organize thoughts. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure you go through and read the problem carefully. Read it through just that one time. And then we want to go back and read it a second time looking for pieces of information. So after you've read through it, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight the question. So that way, this is my goal. This is what I'm looking for. How many hours does he need to work? That's the question, and that tends to be what our variable is going to be. So I'm going to use the letter H to represent what I'm looking for. So it's going to be the number of hours, and not just number of hours. Well, what about those hours that he needs to work? He needs to work. The more specific you can be about that variable, it's just a little bit more helpful. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and now that we've identified, like, that's what we need to find, let's go back into the problem and take a look at what it gave us and make sure that the information is important and how we're going to use it. So Chase currently has $114, like he has that right now. And he's going to earn $12 per hour, and his goal is $360. So this is by the end of the week. So he wants $360 by the end. So like that's the end result. So we're going to go ahead and build that together. So he currently has, this is what he currently has. So we have currently has what he currently has. And he's going to get more because he's going to get $12 per hour. And we're trying to get to his goal, right? So if we kind of map it out that way, we can see what numbers we need to fill in. So we're going to have, he has 114 plus $12, and that's where the H comes in. And his goal is 360. So now we have an equation set up that we can go ahead and solve. So go ahead and pause the video, solve, and when you're ready, come back and check your answers. All right, how'd you do? You should have gotten that H equals 20.5, okay? Now, we don't stop there. We want to pause, and we need to put our answer in word form. Word problems require word answers. So we don't just leave it as H equals 20.5. We want to communicate that we understand what that number represents. So if we go back up into our word problem, we see that we highlighted the question that we have to answer. How many hours does he need to work? We want to go ahead, sorry about that, and restate our answer in a sentence. So, how many hours does he need to work? Chase needs to work 20.5 hours. And notice, I didn't round, right? Because he can work half an hour. He can work part of an hour. So we need to make sure we understand when is it appropriate to round, when isn't it? If I was talking about how many people can he have at his party, right? We can't have half a person, and he wouldn't have enough to round up, so we'd have to actually round down. So making sure that we understand when is it appropriate for a decimal answer versus maybe a whole number answer, and when do we need to round. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Again, I encourage you to pause the video and try the first 2 steps on your own, and then press play to see if we agree. Now, the one thing is I did forget to type the question there, so you might want to have that written in. How much does each case cost? That is our question there. So again, we would have already read this and be like, hey, there's a question missing. Okay? So the question is, how much does each case cost? So hopefully you've already read through this once, and then we're going to go back and reread it again, and we're going to highlight anything that seems important. So Jeremy brought 4 cases of sports drinks. So he currently has 4 cases to an upcoming meet. After talking to his coach, he bought 3 more cases and spent an additional $5 on other items. His total was $96, okay? All right, well, again, how much does each case cost? That's what we're trying to find out. So I'm going to use C, and I'm going to write the cost, dollars, of each case. Again, we're not looking for how many cases did he buy. I can actually find out that by looking back in the problem, right? And so that's actually helpful information. So, well, I know that he spent a total of $96, okay? He had 4 cases, and he spent some kind of money on them. We don't know what he bought, but it's some amount per case, right? So he did 4 cases, but then he spent another amount of money on getting 3 more cases, right? Again, we have to multiply it by the cost of each case. But don't forget about this 5. He also spent $5. Okay? So again, where did this come from? It's like, well, this was the money for the 4 cases, that he originally had. Then the money he spent on the 3 cases. And then this was the extra money he spent on other items. Guess he got himself like a candy bar or something. All right. Now, do you have to start here? No. Maybe you were like, well, I already know that he bought 7 cases. And we could have jumped right into here to getting our equation. And that's fine. All right. So I encourage you to go ahead and pause the video to finish working out for your step 3 and step 4. Step 2 and step 3 here, and check back in. All right. Take a look, see how you did. Now in this particular one, it's very important to make sure you're restating it, because here again, we might forget that what C stood for, it's actually the cost of each case, not the number of cases. We already know how many cases he bought. It was 7. So each case costs $13. All right. Let's go on to number 3. All right. In number 3 here, this one's a little bit trickier. Okay. All right. So again, read through the problem one time, and then go back and reread again, looking for key information. So the first thing I'm going to find is, what is it asking me to find? That's my unknown. Okay. It's asking me for my total gigabytes. Okay. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because actually the variable that we're looking for is not going to represent the total. So we have to kind of go back and look. We can't just assume that here. So AT&T charges their customers $145 for 15 gigabytes of data. So you spend $145, you get 15 gigabytes of data, no matter what. But if you go over 15 gigabytes, it's $10 for each additional gigabyte. And if a bill is $205, how many total gigabytes? So in this case, our variable is actually hiding out right here. This is what we don't know, right? We already know that they spent $145 for that 15, but obviously they went over because the bill is $205. So sometimes it might help you to start with the equation and kind of go, okay, what do I think that variable represents, right? And I'm going to get $10 per additional gigabyte, and it's going to total up to 205. So this G here that I used, it's actually not the total gigabytes, because here's that phrase, it's additional. It's $10 for each additional. So this is additional or extra gigabytes. And that's going to play an important role there. All right. So go ahead and pause the video and finish solving, and then let's come back and check to see what our final answer is. All right. So hopefully you got that G equals 6. Now, tricky part is that our answer? Go back up to our question, how many total gigabytes of data were used, and then also take a look at what did the variable represent. The variable represented additional gigabytes. So if we go back up into the problem, like this is just the additional. It's not the total amount, right? They already get 15 with the 145. So they used 15 gigabytes here plus 6 additional gigabytes. So their total is, right, this is just the additional. This is the extra. Okay? So they get 15 plus their extra. That's going to be 21. So total of 21 gigabytes. So that's why it's important to label and understand your variables, so that way we know that we're actually answering the question. All right. The last one for this video is going to be number 4. And this is really just about using keywords to interpret and build equations. So again, I encourage you to pause the video and try it on your own. All right, so hopefully you've read through the problem. We're going to get, like, this is just a straight up, what's the number I'm thinking of? So it's like a little riddle. I call these my riddle questions. All right, so let me go through and take a look at, so then let's actually, what is the number? Let's do x. X equals the number. All right, so let's take a look at our important, it says 3 times. Now, instead of highlighting, because there's going to be a lot of important information, I'm actually going to write in some stuff. So this is just where I'm translating. 3 times the difference between, well, difference means subtraction. It means actually the result after you do a subtraction. So the difference between, that's also what I call a parenthesis phrase. It means I gotta do these first. I have to subtract them, and that will give me the difference. Is the same as, well, that means equals 5 times, well, that's just 5 times the same number. Okay, oh, I forgot to write what my number was. I'm using x to represent the number. So 5 times the same number increased by 6. I'm going to increase it. So by just literally translating right above it, we can build our equation. So if we take a look at it, 3 and times the difference. So I would have to first do the subtraction and then multiply. So I need those parentheses. Is the same as 5 times the same number increased by 6. And so from there, we have our equation set up and ready to solve. So go ahead and pause, finish solving, and check back in. All right, take a look at how you did. Did you show your work? Did you get x equals -15? And then for this one, it's just simply, it says, what is the number? Well, the number is -15. It's not really a great word problem-y one, but it said to restate it in the solution in a sentence, so that's what we did. All right, hopefully you have a good idea about how to go about setting them up and looking for key information. I am going to have a second video for the other side of this worksheet so you can follow along as needed.